In this video, I'm going to show you how to upgrade the firmware on a Pro Series camera. So I have my program pconfig open. So I have a pconfig software under the all config directory in my temp directory for Pro Series. This is all config software we can provide to you, and launch it by pressing this one. I'll just show you how to launch it. When you launch it, it may ask you for network firewall permissions, allow it for public network, and allow access. This program is a Windows-only program. We suggest using Windows 10. It works fine in it. Once you open the software up, you can hit search, and it will search for devices on your network. So in this case, it found my camera right here, and I have my firmware sitting in this directory. So I'm going to copy the directory path, click the camera, click here, paste it in here, and the file with 8.8.63.46, this is a kernel file. If you are unsure, you can always email us and ask, but this is the kernel file. Select kernel, hit yes, hit upgrade. And what it'll do is start uploading the file, and it'll take some time. And once it's finished, we will apply the web file. So my camera is about to complete uploading its kernel file now. And it's going to do this back and forth thing between 100% and go back. Let it do that until finally it stops and says 100% on there. This is perfectly normal behavior. Now it's been another couple of minutes and my camera has settled on 100%. The way I know the camera is finished upgrading, it's to ping it and see if it's still responding. So I'm going to just open up the command prompt here like I did and ping it, and it's giving me a reply. So now it's time for the next step, which is going to be apply the web file. Same path, correct firmware. So what you can actually do is, before I actually go to the step, I can show you that if you hit search again, it'll find that camera, and you can get confirmation that the firmware file was correctly applied, because here it changed the version number to the 8.8.63.46. Now select the camera again, and this is the web file. Hit yes, hit upgrade on there. This is a faster upgrade. Let this run. It'll take another couple of minutes. So now it's completed the web file too. Let's check again whether it's responding to a ping, and it is. So the last step in the upgrade process is to reset it. Make sure it's checked, selected, hit restore the factory. And it'll say succeed. That's the status for resetting it. So if you were to do a continuous ping, you'll see it turn off. And that's where my ping requests have kind of paused, timed out, and when it'll reboot, they'll continue again. This is the proper way of ensuring that you've actually reset the camera. If you don't reset the camera and it doesn't reboot, all that firmware that you apply doesn't properly load back into the camera's programming. So now the camera seems to be back online. What I'll do is hit search and make sure it's appearing on the network. All right. Now I've got it connected, and I'm going to open Internet Explorer, and I'm going to pull this up. And if you've been using the camera before and you have access to its web interface, it's a good thing to go into Internet Explorer and delete your saved cache, close out, go back in, and then log back into the camera. When I log in, I go to config, And as you can see in here, it has the right software. Now, one of the most important things is how to connect the camera to our NVR and how to sync its time. Um, the way we recommend is our cameras get time from the NVR. So for this demonstration, we are going to show how to connect this Pro Series to one of our cameras. And what you do is you go into the IP address of your NVR. In this case, mine is set to a different IP address. Now I'm going to log in into my NVR. Go to Setup, hit Device Search. If the camera and the NVR are on the same network, with that firmware that we applied, it'll appear here. You can add it as a manual add. And I'll show you that here in live view. My time is 11:08 on it. I'm actually going to go into the config and set its time to be incorrect, just to show that the level of sync our NVR and camera have together. So I'm going to set the time to be 22, hit save. Now go into live view, the time has changed to 22:08. In fact, it's 11:08. Go to config, manual add. You can choose a private protocol now and put in the IP address of the camera, username, password. Leave the TCP port as 377 with that firmware that I showed you earlier in this video. So just to make sure, this way will only work if you use this firmware on this Pro Series camera. Hit connect, hit OK. The password was admin if you're unsure. Camera will appear here. Green check mark shows that it connected. When the NVR connects to the camera, it actually updates the time. The NVR is the timekeeper. It's important you set the NVR settings for time to be correct. So in my case, I went into General, Date and Time, and these are the proper settings if you're on the East Coast for setting time on your NVR. And now you can even watch the camera. I just have to enable the plugins, allow it to run the plugin. And you select your channel, and the camera will show up right here. I'm using a virtual machine, so it doesn't render video that well. So I'm not going to see it, but I use a substream, and I can watch it right here. If you're using a dedicated computer with a graphics card, you'll see it too. Not a big deal. Now, go back into Setup. I'll show you that the level of sync is so much that if I mess up the time on the NVR to be, let's say, 15, hit OK, I go back into the camera, say change the time here too. So the camera is actively syncing time with the NVR. You don't need to independently set time settings through the camera itself. It's important for all this to work that one, you apply the firmware that we provide for the camera. Two, you reset it like I showed you before. And third, the NVR you're using has the latest firmware update on it as well. In this case, this is our 5000 series NVRs, and it has a firmware build date of 2019-01-25. The level of sync between different NVR models and cameras is different just because of the ONV version and stuff like that. So it may vary, but for the 5000 series NVRs with this build update, you'll see this level of sync in between there. Thanks for watching the video.